Welcome to Thriller Nights, where each story takes you on a suspenseful journey into the heart of mystery and crime. Thank you to all our subscribers for your support. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button for more thrilling nighttime tales. A crisp mountain breeze danced through the towering pines, carrying with it the scent of pine needles and a hint of anticipation. Nestled amidst the majestic peaks of the Swiss Alps, the Grand Alpin Lodge exuded an air of quiet grandeur. This year, the annual Alpine Literary Conference brought together a renowned group of authors, editors, and critics, each a star in their own right. Amongst them was Evelyn Thorne, a literary giant with a reputation as sharp as a glacier and just as unforgiving. Her dark, intricate novels, laced with social commentary and a biting wit, had captivated readers for decades, yet behind the public persona, whispers swirled. Some admired her relentless pursuit of truth, while others found her ruthless in her portrayal of human nature. This year's conference promised to be particularly stimulating. Arthur Kingsley, a rising star known for his captivating historical fiction, was scheduled to participate in a panel discussion alongside Evelyn. Their recent literary exchange had been anything but amicable. Arthur, with his charming demeanor and eloquent prose, had challenged Evelyn's style, accusing her of cynicism and a bleak outlook on humanity. Beatrice Vance, a seasoned literary agent with a fierce loyalty to her clients, sat in the lodge's grand library, a frown etched on her face. Her history with Evelyn was far from amicable. A bitter business dispute had severed their professional relationship years ago, leaving a trail of resentment in its wake. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the lodge's common room, the attendees gathered for a cocktail reception. Laughter mingled with polite conversation as they exchanged pleasantries and subtly sized each other up. Beneath the veneer of intellectual discourse, unspoken tensions simmered. Past rivalries, hidden jealousies, and simmering ambitions swirled in the air, a volatile cocktail waiting to be shaken. Little did they know, this seemingly ordinary gathering was about to be shattered by a shocking event, one that would transform the quaint mountain lodge into a scene of a chilling crime. The tranquility of the Alps would be broken by a scream, echoing through the night, a scream that would mark the beginning of a dark mystery. The tranquility of the Grand Alpin Lodge would never be the same. A piercing scream ripped through the stillness of the night, shattering the illusion of peace at the Grand Alpin Lodge. Sleepers jolted awake, hearts pounding, fear replacing the drowsiness of a peaceful mountain night. The source of the scream, Evelyn Thorne's cabin. A group of concerned attendees, led by the ever-composed Beatrice Vance, rushed towards Evelyn's cabin. The door was bolted from the inside, but their frantic knocking remained unanswered. Panic set in as they finally forced the door open. The scene that greeted them was one of utter shock. Evelyn lay sprawled on the plush carpet, her eyes wide open in a silent scream. A single crimson dot marred the pale expanse of her wrist. Dr. Miller, the lodge's resident physician, rushed to her side, but it was too late. Evelyn Thorne, the literary titan, was dead. An empty vial lay discarded beside her, its label bearing the chilling insignia of a skull and crossbones. The cause of death, a rare and potent poison. As shock gave way to a chilling realization, a wave of murmurs swept through the group. Murder, the unthinkable had happened amidst their esteemed gathering. Inspector Hans Schmidt, a gruff detective with a sharp mind and a dry sense of humor, was flown in from a nearby town to investigate the seemingly impossible crime. A locked room, a lethal poison, and a missing manuscript, Evelyn's latest work, rumored to be a scathing exposé of the literary world, had vanished. The initial investigation began. Inspector Schmidt questioned the attendees one by one, his gaze piercing through their polished facades. Arthur Kingsley, visibly shaken by the discovery, spoke of his respect for Evelyn, despite their recent disagreement. Beatrice Vance, her composure seemingly unshakable, claimed to have retired for the night early, never venturing out until the commotion awoke her. The other attendees, a diverse mix of personalities, provided their alibis and expressed their grief at the sudden demise of the literary icon. Yet, under the weight of the inspector's scrutiny, their carefully constructed narratives seemed to falter ever so slightly. A nervous twitch, a hesitant stutter, a fleeting flicker of fear in the eyes, each seemingly insignificant detail was meticulously noted by the seasoned detective. As the initial investigation unfolded, a sense of unease settled over the attendees. The once vibrant gathering had morphed into a tense atmosphere of suspicion and fear. The idyllic mountain setting now seemed to hold a sinister secret, and each of them, once guests at a literary retreat, now found themselves potential suspects in a chilling murder mystery. Inspector Schmidt, a man not easily intimidated, was determined to unravel the truth. He knew the key to the case lay hidden within the confines of the lodge, waiting to be discovered. The question remained, who amongst them held the deadly secret that claimed Evelyn Thorne's life? The hunt for the killer had begun. The shock of Evelyn Thorne's murder had cast a long shadow over the Grand Alpin Lodge. As Inspector Schmidt delved deeper into the investigation, two figures emerged as prime suspects. Arthur Kingsley, the rising literary star with a recent public disagreement with Evelyn. Their clash at the panel discussion, fueled by Arthur's criticism of her work, provided a clear motive. Could his ambition have turned deadly? Perhaps the pressure to establish himself in the literary world, coupled with his thinly veiled dislike for Evelyn's writing style, pushed him to silence his most vocal critic. Beatrice Vance, Evelyn's former agent, their relationship strained by a bitter legal battle. The resentment simmering beneath Beatrice's composed exterior was palpable. Was vengeance the driving force behind the murder? Did she finally snap, seeking retribution for the perceived betrayal that severed their professional ties? Inspector Schmidt meticulously examined their alibis. Arthur claimed to have spent the evening revising his manuscript, while Beatrice insisted on an early bedtime routine. However, a closer look revealed inconsistencies. A witness placed Arthur near Evelyn's cabin shortly before the scream, and a closer inspection of Beatrice's room revealed a crumpled piece of paper, a draft of a scathing letter addressed to Evelyn, filled with frustrated accusations. Yet, as the investigation progressed, a nagging doubt gnawed at Inspector Schmidt. Both Arthur and Beatrice had strong motives, but did their alibis truly hold water? Were there other players in this deadly game of words and betrayal? The lodge housed a diverse group of attendees, each with their own potential motive and hidden secret. The jealous rival, a writer struggling with writer's block, ever in the shadow of Evelyn's success. Could envy have pushed them to eliminate their competition? The disgruntled editor, a harsh critic known for scathing reviews. Did Evelyn's latest work contain a particularly scathing assessment, leading to a deadly act of revenge? The scorned lover, if applicable. Did a past relationship, shrouded in secrecy, provide the spark that ignited the deadly act? These potential suspects, with their own hidden agendas, added another layer of complexity to the case. Inspector Schmidt meticulously interviewed each, searching for inconsistencies, hidden resentments, and any shred of evidence that could link them to the murder. As the investigation unfolded, red herrings emerged, leading the inspector down seemingly promising but ultimately fruitless paths. Each dead end, however, brought him closer to the truth. The missing piece of the puzzle lay hidden amongst a web of lies, alibis, and carefully constructed facades. He just needed to find the right thread to unravel it. The idyllic setting of the Grand Alpin Lodge, once a haven for creative expression, now served as a stage for a chilling drama. The air crackled with suspicion, and the remaining attendees eyed each other with a newfound mistrust. Inspector Schmidt knew time was of the essence. He had to identify the killer before another life was taken, before the secrets buried beneath the picturesque exterior of the lodge consumed them all. Frustration gnawed at Inspector Schmidt. The investigation had reached a standstill. Arthur Kingsley and Beatrice Vance remained prime suspects, but their alibis, though shaky, held some weight. The red herrings had wasted precious time, and the remaining attendees seemed to be withholding something, their anxieties barely concealed beneath forced smiles. Dr. Miller, the lodge's resident physician, emerged as an unexpected ally. A keen observer with a quiet demeanor, he assisted the inspector with an unwavering focus. His sharp eyes scanned the crime scene and the faces of the attendees, picking up on seemingly insignificant details that Inspector Schmidt, caught up in the bigger picture, might have missed. One such detail was a peculiar absence: Evelyn's signature pen, a Mont Blanc with a distinctive emerald green gem. A seemingly unimportant detail, but Dr. Miller's intuition flagged it. He discreetly questioned the attendees, learning that Evelyn never wrote without her pen. Its disappearance from the locked cabin scene was a puzzle piece waiting to be placed. Another clue surfaced, a scrap of paper found crumpled in Evelyn's wastebasket. It contained a cryptic note, a single sentence scrawled in familiar handwriting: "Meet me by the old lookout, midnight." The handwriting matched that of a seemingly irrelevant attendee, a reclusive poet known for his eccentric behavior. Could he hold the key to the mystery? Inspector Schmidt, intrigued by the note, questioned the poet. The man, bewildered, claimed he had never met Evelyn, let alone written such a note. Yet, under close scrutiny, he confessed. He had seen Evelyn arguing with someone near the lookout the night before the murder, but the darkness had obscured their identities. The argument seemed heated, and the poet, fearing trouble, had kept quiet, but the guilt of his silence had finally gotten the better of him. The lookout point, a remote location overlooking the majestic valley, became the next stop in the investigation. A meticulous search revealed a single discarded glove, a black leather glove, worn and slightly damp. This seemingly insignificant piece of evidence sent a jolt through Dr. Miller. His gaze flickered, a flicker of recognition barely perceptible. Dr. Miller's past, a tightly guarded secret, suddenly intersected with the present investigation. The glove, it was identical to one he always wore, a relic from a long-buried chapter in his life. Panic welled within him. Could his past inadvertently connect him to the murder? Torn between duty and the fear of exposing his secret, Dr. Miller wrestled with his conscience. The memory of a past betrayal, a dark incident that forced him to leave his previous life behind, threatened to resurface. He knew he had to confide in Inspector Schmidt, but the fear of losing his new life, his newfound purpose, was paralyzing. As the investigation continued, the pressure mounted. Inspector Schmidt, frustrated by the lack of progress, decided to confront Arthur Kingsley and Beatrice Vance once more. He laid out the inconsistencies in their alibis, the mounting evidence that cast doubt on their initial stories. Arthur, under pressure, confessed to having a heated argument with Evelyn, but insisted it never turned physical. He had stormed out, seeking solace in his room. Beatrice, sensing the net tightening around her, admitted to writing the scathing letter, but claimed it was a moment of anger and never intended to be sent. The tension in the room was thick, but neither confessed to the murder. Dr. Miller, his internal struggle reaching a breaking point, knew he could no longer remain silent. With a deep breath, he approached Inspector Schmidt, ready to reveal his long-held secret and face the consequences, hoping it would shed light on the mystery and clear his name. As Dr. Miller prepares to confess, a question hangs heavy in the air. Will his past hold the key to solving Evelyn Thorne's murder? Or will it further complicate the investigation and plunge him into a web of danger? The truth, as always, lies buried beneath a layer of lies and deceit, waiting to be unearthed. Dr. Miller's confession echoed in the room, a bombshell revelation shattering the fragile calm. His past, a web of espionage and a stolen identity, connected him to the seemingly insignificant black glove found at the lookout point. The missing piece of the puzzle clicked into place. Years ago, Dr. Miller, then known by a different name, had been involved in a high-stakes operation. The black gloves were a signature of his former associates, a group notorious for their ruthlessness. He had gone into hiding, seeking a new life, a new identity as Dr. Miller. But the past, it seemed, had a way of catching up. Inspector Schmidt, initially skeptical, pieced together the remaining fragments. The cryptic note likely lured Evelyn to the lookout, a setup. The confrontation witnessed by the poet was likely a staged performance meant to mislead the investigation, but who orchestrated it? Who amongst them had a connection to Dr. Miller's past and used it to frame him? A sudden realization dawned on Inspector Schmidt. The answer lay hidden in plain sight: Beatrice Vance. Her steely demeanor finally cracked under scrutiny, she confessed. Driven by resentment towards Evelyn and her own financial woes, she had contacted Dr. Miller's former associates, offering them information about his whereabouts in exchange for a hefty sum. They orchestrated the elaborate scheme, the note, the argument witnessed by the poet, even planting the glove, to frame Dr. Miller and divert attention. Beatrice had planned to use the commotion to steal Evelyn's manuscript, hoping to profit by selling it to a rival publisher. The missing pen held the key to the murder method. Beatrice, while searching Evelyn's cabin for the manuscript, had discovered a hidden compartment containing a vial of the poison. She had used a hollowed-out version of Evelyn's signature pen to deliver the fatal dose, making it appear like a suicide. Justice, though swift, offered little solace. The Grand Alpin Lodge, once a haven for creativity, became forever tainted by the events that unfolded. The attendees, shaken and disillusioned, dispersed, carrying the weight of the experience. Dr. Miller, though cleared of any wrongdoing, grappled with the consequences of his past. He had to choose: return to the life he left behind, or forge a new path, forever marked by the events at the lodge. Evelyn Thorne's legacy remained, albeit tarnished. Her final, potentially explosive manuscript, recovered from Beatrice's possession, was ultimately published after careful review. The world mourned the literary giant, even as whispers swirled about the truth behind her demise. The Alpine peaks remained majestic, but a shadow now lingered over their beauty. The chilling events at the Grand Alpin Lodge served as a stark reminder that even within the idyllic facades of the literary world, darkness and deception can lurk, waiting to be unearthed. The story of the murder at the Alpine Literary Conference concluded, but the whispers of the poisoned pen and the secrets it exposed would forever echo in the halls of memory.